Why did you start? Is it a Brexit bag that you've prepared, is it?
Yeah, so I've started stockpiling for Brexit. Lots of food, about a month, but I've got a bag, stuff in the cupboards, filling it up, because I'm worried that in the immediate aftermath of Brexit, so March 29th, that there will be problems with our truck drivers, basically. So at our ports, there are going to be extra checks, which will delay the trucks. And that has a real impact on our just-in-time supply chain across the country.
So what sort of things, though, are you stockpiling?
Non-perishable, so pasta, self-raising flour. You know, I love a chicken korma, right? And if there's no chicken korma, I'll be a bit upset. So things like rice, which we import 100% of, almost 100% of, through Europe, all of these sort of things, very simple. So when I'm in the supermarket, I'm just putting an extra few things into my basket, putting them in the back of the cupboard.
And it doesn't sound like such an outlandish decision. We can buy a Brexit box now for £295 that will serve you for a month.
There's a roaring trade in supplying those,
chicken-fried rice, diced chicken, these things here.
But where are we going? Are we going to Pluto? I mean, look at it. It looks like something you would feed your plant. I would rather eat a Remainer. I think it would be more nourishing. I mean, really, let's just cut to the chase here. If you think a Brexit baked bean blockade is going to bring Britain to the brink, you are bonkers. Stock up on some tin foil. The port has said that the trucks are going to be flowing as normal. The Mayor of Calais says it's business as normal too. Where are all these stories coming from?
I think that's true for the long term, and I do think that Britain will be fine in the long term. I'm talking about the immediate short term. So March 30th, day after Brexit, right?
But they're saying it's going to be business as normal straight from the off. They're reassuring. So,
well, evidently not. As we've just seen, Tesco and M&S have just said they're stockpiling for Brexit. The boss of
Tesco are supporting Brexit, so they're all in favour of it. So, of course, they're going to go along with the narrative.
They're saying that it's going to be difficult because supermarkets only have a maximum capacity of a day and a half for food. We import 50% of our fresh food through Europe's ports, right? So there's a big chance that for mums and dads at home watching this show, there may not be certain items in the supermarket immediately after Brexit.
I mean, Holly, isn't one of the points, though, that even if it's coming through, it might suddenly be very expensive in the short term, as Tom says. So if you're balancing a budget, if you're a family balancing a budget, you don't want to shock and suddenly find a potato costs £5 or something like that. So
but it won't. I'm sure it won't. The flow is going to be normal.
Why do you believe all the officials about this bit of Brexit when everything else they've said has not come to pass,
when everyone else is saying it's going to be apocalypse? I mean, the next thing we're going to go... Next week, I'm expecting zombies to be walking the land.
But, India, we were told, though, weren't we told that the deal...
plague is going to be on the
wasn't it going to be the easiest deal to make in history, this deal?
Well, it should have been, but this is where we've all gone wrong.
Because, of course, there are things that go wrong that aren't necessarily foreseen. We've seen the government making preparations. We're seeing high street retailers making preparations. We're seeing car manufacturers making preparations. Honda saying they're going to shut down for 6 days so they can be prepared. Is it that's the blind belief that we're just going to go through this and it's going to all be fine? Isn't that one of the reasons we've got ourselves in a bit of a mix-up already and that the deal has been so...
Well, I don't think it is blind belief. It's whether you buy into the story that's being pumped out that it is going to be this disaster scenario. There's plenty of evidence.
I tell you what, though, do you think that actually people feel helpless? They see all this going on, they feel helpless. So this is something you can do that makes you feel you're shored up.
I think there is a responsibility on people that have been pumping out these stories to think about people in vulnerable situations. I used to survive on tin food. That used to be the mainstay of my diet because of budget and, you know, ease and convenience. And it must... I totally get it. It's worrying for people, but I would like to just reassure them. Honestly, they're not going to be eating space food like this.
And that is the point, to reassure. And I know from my community that parents are worried. They're saying, I've got to put food on the table. Politics aside, whether I'm for or against Brexit, at the end of every day, I've got to put food on the table. This
but
just gives peace of mind.
Would you eat that? I mean, what's that? That's
so I've got to admit, I haven't bought this. I've just gone to the supermarket. I'm a deal hunter. I love a deal. So if something's buy one, get one free...
In the green room, we opened one up. Have you smelt what that smells like?
I'm sure it smells fabulous, right? Vegetable fried rice.
If there's a shortage of food in you, would you mind how it smells? Would you just be glad that you've got some nutrition?
Exactly.
Honestly, I'd rather eat grass.
Well, the point is, if you have kids at home and you need to feed them, I think here, today on this TV show, we have a responsibility to give sensible advice to people at home, and that, right now, has to move on from whether just Brexit is good or bad And it's just got to be, listen, if you need to save money, if you need to put food on the table, this will give you peace of mind. If you don't use it and everything's fine,
So
fantastic.
tell me, where are these delays going to come from? If the mayor of Calais and the port manager over there is saying, we don't get what the fuss is, we don't understand.
Right.
Our preparations are in place. These trucks are going to be going through. There's not going to be any delay. There was no need for
these are where the delays may come from.
100 truck practice traffic
in
jam
Britain,
either.
There's 10,000 trucks every day that come through Europe into the UK delivering things, including food, right? And regardless of whether there's a deal or no deal, they have said in every situation there will be a few extra checks, and those checks may only be seconds. So they're talking, let's say, a minute. Maybe 2 minutes of extra checks. But on 10,000 trucks, that magnitude stacks up.
Balloons.
And if
then
you've
they're
got
saying,
fresh goods, and we import all of our fruit, pretty much, and most of our vegetables, and they come through Europe, you could see how that could become a problem very quickly.
Do you know what? Even if this nightmare scenario happened, Hitler was sinking our ships.
Hitler.
Wasn't he? He was cutting off our
people had
supply
pounded
line.
egg
If we are going to be
during that
sunk
time in
by
India,
a
and they did
shortage
store things up.
of spaghetti hoops, then we're in a bad way.
Right, so I get what you're saying.
The British are better than that.
We survived the war, is what you're saying. And we did survive the war. How? Food rationing, right? I was speaking to someone outside. His nan was saying that at the beginning of World War II, there were 2 weeks where all the shops were closed, no food, and there was a real panic. British people are sensible. We do get through things. We get through the sticky situations.
Come March the
by planning
29th,
ahead.
I'm going to stroll casually into my local supermarket with the biggest trolley I can find. I'm going to spend an hour there picking my favourites off the shelves, and I'm going to have a big dinner to celebrate Brexit.
Well, fingers crossed we can
there
do
you
that.
go.
Lots of you getting in touch. Adam saying people shouldn't stockpile. Do you really believe the reliable, professional British government will allow people to starve in the event of no deal? I think he's saying that with a wry smile. Jackie says, we can grow food. We always have to export food. For goodness sake, stop scaremongering about Brexit. We are British. We went through 2 world wars.
Hooray!
Which is India's point.
With food rationing.
Lindsay makes an interesting point. I'm worried about food supplies post-Brexit. What concerns me more is my son's vital medication. The NHS will not allow us to stockpile, so we're going to have to wait anxiously to see what happens.
There are people that are concerned, and I guess giving them a chance to buy a few things that are non-perishable, they
Absolutely.
can store, makes you feel
Buy a
empowered,
few, but
doesn't it?
don't fill your bath with tins. That would just be silly.
OK.